All right. All right. Good morning. Getting started just a bit early, but I figured I was going to get going anyway. I might as well just pop the stream on. So I will try to remember to do a more full intro in about 15 minutes at 10, which is the time I normally start streaming and the time that I advertise the stream to start and stuff like that. I don't want to necessarily just start now and have folks tune in late. So I'll get going now. I'll say good morning. How's it going, Michael Pokusa? Mikal? I think I say Michael a lot. I apologize if that's incorrect. Hello, a bit earlier than usual. I see just checked out would be the topic, and I see it's already live. Yep, I figured I was gonna get going anyway. A couple minutes early. I'm just ready to go this morning, so I figured I would just pop the stream on for a minute. I was just gonna do this and then start the stream later, but I figured we could just do it. We can just pop it on. So, good morning to you. Nice to see you as well, obviously, because that's actually perfect. Because I'm gonna check out your PR here, which is gonna bring it up to date for 9.0. server library, and then is got some other changes for typing. So I took a look at some of these changes the other day. I haven't tested it out yet, which is what I intend to do now. Overall, though, it seems pretty good to me. One thing that caught my eye, I wonder, you could try, as you mentioned down here, you could try if you install CircuitPython stubs, I think maybe. Depends on your IDE, but as long as it will recognize the stubs, I think it may recognize those from there. But this way is nice too because it distributes it with the library, which means even for people who don't have stubs, they can actually not have their IDE yelling at them for that, which is nice for sure. So that's like just a little bit of formatting on how it prints. It's basically the same throughout a couple of these slots, and then the typing goes to this class now instead of being the union directly. And then this one is actually a new repr. What is that one on? I wish it would show like maybe like what class we were inside of. I don't know if they analyzed the code enough for that. That's like 400. Anyway, we'll pull it on. We'll pull it in my local HRM IDE as well. We'll make it easier because it won't collapse these things. I do have to run and blow my nose again. I think I would have learned the last couple of weeks. I don't know why, for whatever reason, it wants to run right when I get started, but let's see, root path. Okay, so there was an error if you tried to access a file without setting the root path, it looks like. Guessing that's something to do with it. And then get some more of these typings. Change the default port over to 5000, which I do like, actually. That's nice. That will make it not collide with web workflow, I think, as well, if I understand it right. I think they can coexist on different ports, but web workflow does take port 80 by default. Socket server. Okay, yeah, so this is about the bit that used to be different, but with 9.0, it's actually changing to be the same as CPython. So we had like backwards compatible code, 5000 instead of... Does this make a difference? Does that actually change anything here? I guess it keeps it basically the same as like Flask though, which is nice too, the interface. I guess maybe if you have multiple connections, maybe if you're getting crazy with like native Wi-Fi and like Ethernet WizNet on the side or something, then you have two IP addresses, so you could specify which one, and then zeros, I guess, would maybe hit them all at that point. I don't know that kind of thing is really supported. I think I believe it was Anecdata maybe got 3 or 4 at least different connections at one point, which is pretty crazy. How's it going over to Bear? Didn't we discover you can symlink stubs at your project root and the IDE will read them? You can probably do something like that, although if you just install the stubs, I think a lot of IDEs will pick it up even without you doing any symlinks or anything. It will listen on all the IPs, not just one. Nice, okay. You can't really point to module as type, and in that case, that is the case on CPython. Can't really point to the module as the type. Or 5000, yeah. Seeing that as well, like Flask defaults to that if you just run, I think. Or maybe all the examples have it in there. I don't remember if it just defaults to it or if just like the example code has it in there, but a lot of it uses 5000 for sure. Privilege ranged over 1024. What would it have? Does the behavior actually change with this? So like this is changing to the default. Did you used to, did it just specify always? Maybe it just always specified in the examples. I don't remember. Basically what I'm getting at though is like, did the behavior change at all? Or is it just like, it's kind of more explicitly defaulted to the same thing it was? No, okay. Well, okay, right. It did not have the zeros, but it was always getting the IP from the interface it wants to use, which is Wi-Fi usually, right? So, okay. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, you can do the zeros and then you don't need to know your own IP, which is cool. I mean, obviously you need to be able to hit the server, which knowing the IP certainly helps for, but can you hit the HTTP server using CircuitPython.local? Or does that only work on the web workflow? I don't think I've ever tried. All right, let's get the repo. Good morning also to Tyeth. I don't remember if I said hello or good morning. Open HTTP server. Can see if we maybe update first of all. Well, we're on just a random branch though. That's not going to do anything. '84. I saw the HTTPS one as well, and since you're here, I didn't leave a comment or anything, but since you're here, I'll ask, could you include maybe a comment or something in the example that either has a link to a page that tells you how to do it, or even better would be like the commands you can run to generate the PEM files? I've never generated like I assume that's like a self-signed certificate, is how that's working. I've always used Let's Encrypt, but that's not gonna work, I don't think, with this because you need to be on the internet for the Let's Encrypt service to hit your server. But I understand, I think that you can generate them yourself, I just don't know how to do it. And I think that'd be awesome to include it in like a comment in the example for that HTTPS one. Okay, so we basically just need like the file response one, I guess, changed a little bit, and then the rest of this was all like typing and like two-string type stuff, like repr function. Where's the static? That's the one we want right there. .local feels like a modern network. But we'll still in draft. I agree, it might be useful. Docs, yeah. More future-proof. Can't. Let's see. There's MDNS. I don't really know what MDNS is, or is that what I was asking about? Is that the .local thing? More future-proof. Can't remember specifics, but I had fun with that fixed address issue playing with HTTP servers last year. The I don't know the acronym MDNS, what it stands for. It might be. When I'm thinking about it, though, I think it might be the .local thing, maybe. All right, so this will grab anything in here, which is cool. We got some stuff for it to serve, which is good. Yeah. So I think if I understand right, the error would have been like a worse error. I just did this. Where is this? I just put this in not device. Let's close this stuff so I don't do that again. I probably did not put the library in the right spot either then. Let me just delete this. Okay. MDNS is the .local thing. I gotcha. Is it also the is it also this? Yeah, it is, because that's also .local, which I didn't realize before. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't really know how that works. I have like some stuff in my hosts file that sets up something kind of like that, but that's like on my computer. I don't know how the... So MDNS, I guess, is the protocol that allows it to define itself that way. That's pretty crazy. Or Apple Bonjour, or Avahi. NetBIOS Day is a workgroup hostname service resolution. Can use other suffixes. Oh, okay, you don't have to use .local, but I do like it as like a convention if it's gonna work that way. Yeah, I use some of my own random, like I use .dev on the ones I think I have in my hosts file. They access a couple of different development servers that I run while I'm working on other projects. Do we need anything? I don't think we need anything else in here. Did I paste this? I got to talk in. I don't know if I did or not. I'm just going to delete it and do it again. Sorry. Oops. Better to lose a couple of seconds here while we do it again, then test it for like 10 minutes and realize we weren't testing on the right version. I've done before, so... All right, there we go. Okay, we're on CircuitPy. We've got that loaded up. We are in code. We've done that. We need TO. We probably don't have auto reload on, so let's start it. We got the sockety thingy. We got... I should probably get an official build, maybe. Is this linked to CircuitPython.org? Yes. Even to the right board, which is sweet. Google, I think, owns .dev. I just have it in my local file, so... .dev is now a TLD. I gotcha. Note to self, check if the things in my host file are available as actual domains. That would be kind of interesting to own them for real. We'll send DNS-shaped requests to the multicast network address. Good morning, Johnny. How's it going, my friend? Oh, MDNS, multicast DNS, okay. Multicast I am a little familiar with. I did some stuff with multicast like triggers in the past where it was sending data through the multicast thing or whatever so that all the rest of the stuff on the network could see it and react to it. But these days I do similar stuff but with WebSockets. Okay, we should be running. I don't have the camera running. Is your camera running? Better go chase it. No, okay. I have officially reached the point where I access too many random IPs on a regular basis and I don't remember which one's which anymore. A couple Raspberry Pis set up. I've got this camera. I've got the web workflows, which I actually tend to still use the IP for, although I should start trying to use this now that it works. For a bit that didn't work on my network, but all right, I can't read that obviously. Let's get the all right. Also, I will take a short intermission here while we have loaded up a bunch of the gang over the 15 minutes or so I've been here, but I will stop briefly and do an actual kind of introduction here since this is the time that I would normally be starting. Better get the camera situated how I want. Okay. All right, good morning. Sounds like you need an MDNS, MDNS monkey. All right, let me see. So welcome, everybody. I have been hanging out with a couple of folks in the chat for a little while already. Got started a bit early this morning, but for anybody that might be new, who's tuning in now or who is watching the VOD in the future, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. I typically stream at this time around 10 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays each week, and I am typically working on CircuitPython related stuff. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website for it here, circuitpython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers, such as this one right here, which is a Adafruit Feather ESP32S3 TFT. This one has a little display on board, as well as a kind of standardized Feather form factor and a charging circuit and stemma connector and some couple other little bits of connection hardware. Basically, the gist of this, though, is that tiny computer, there's a tiny computer inside of this board. It's actually on the back of this board, which makes it tough to see from this angle. If we click over here, we can find the back. So underneath this little shield is kind of the main brain of this operation. And effectively inside of there is a whole tiny computer. And CircuitPython is a project that's allowing that tiny computer to actually interpret and execute Python code. And that Python code can then interact with other stuff that is connected to the microcontroller. So in the case of the Feathers, they have a standardized form factor with all of these GPIO pins along the sides. And in my case, I do have it connected then to a Feather. This one's actually a quadrupler, which can then allow it to connect some Feather wings, which are like some add-on devices. But CircuitPython is kind of the main project that's bringing this all together, that's allowing me to just plug it into the computer, write some Python code on it, and interact with all those other various bits of hardware which are connected. Like in this case, I've got some NeoPixels up here, although I'm not doing anything with them. I've got a SD card reader and a battery for, I think that's an RTC clock as well on that one. I have an empty slot here where you could see I had some wires plugged in to go plug into something else as well. So you can connect up all sorts of bits to these things. CircuitPython then allows you to write some Python code and actually control your other things, read from your sensors, send signals to your other bits and bobs, read buttons, and do all sorts of stuff like that. Thanks, of course, to Adafruit. Adafruit is the company who is the primary financial sponsor for CircuitPython. They're paying the team of folks who work on CircuitPython full-time. They pay a team of folks like me who work on the project part-time. So thank you, as always, to them. And if you want to help support CircuitPython, you can do so by purchasing hardware from Adafruit.com. So that's their main website. They produce hardware over in New York, in the United States, and you can purchase not only different microcontrollers themselves, but also, all sorts of bits and bobs that can be connected up with those microcontrollers in order to do different stuff. And they, of course, also have the great learn.adafruit, which has got all kinds of projects. If you want ideas for what to make with these microcontrollers and all the other hardware, Learn is a great place to look for inspiration. And so diving right back to where we were, which is HTTPServer. This is allowing the CircuitPython microcontroller to act as an HTTP server right here, and we're testing out a proposed change into that library, which adds new typing and a fix for CircuitPython 9 and some refactoring. Okay, so we are up to date now. How's it going, Dexter? Good morning as well to Seagrover too. How's it going, my friends? I always go read this tutorial when I need to generate self-signed cert. Nice, thank you. I will like that. Ah, yes. Struck by the old... Yeah, Discord. Discord web-based instance breaks links. DigitalOcean. I need to try out DigitalOcean one of these days. Yeah, thank you, by the way, Bear. I appreciate that link. I'll definitely be checking this out. Okay. We are running, and we are actually live. Okay, so then, yeah, before we got too far down this rabbit hole, I was asking the question, does this work? So let's answer that. It does. That's pretty cool. Okay. I think the error was when we were missing the root path, right? So if we maybe like just don't set that, then we'll see the new error, but only if we try to fetch a file. Well, we got a 404. Maybe that's the error though. Maybe it catches it and returns 404, which is what the web server should do. What does it say here? Oh, okay, so it used to have an exception. Gotcha. And the response constructor? We don't really have a response constructor, I guess, though. So I guess maybe this one actually is not maybe exercising that exact bug. You don't put a root path that won't serve any files. Sounds good to me. We are on 5,000 by default, yep. And if we put let me put the root path back before I go too much further. It applied to a custom handler with file response. I got you. Okay, so we could make a custom one maybe. Let's grab simple test one. Okay, let's say like slash file slash, I don't remember how to do this. You gotta get the path one, handler service files. Let's use that actually. There we go, it's already made. Oh, interesting, you don't have to, oh, right, I don't have to handle the name, right? Because it looks for the file you ask for. Yeah, I was getting ready to try to like, write whatever code is here for the string or whatever, but we don't actually need that. Okay, so this one will do home, and then, so if you hit slash home, it will look for other static folder home, which I don't have. Let me create. Actually, maybe I do. Would you look at that? Okay. Is there anything crazy in there? Hopefully not. Okay. So other static folder and default static folder I actually do have. Yo-yo is in that one. Home is thing else, and then thing else is in index also. Let me change that to be index to index. Okay. Okay, so then let's run it like this, but then the error would have been, and I already have the fixed one, so we won't see the actual exception, I think, but the error would have been if we did omit the directory from both. So this will go to home, it will grab the file from other static, specifically index, if we were to, no. Okay, because the default is set here. So if we were to say index, we could get, we can't get index. Is that a bug? It looks like a bug to me, right? But if you go /home, oh wait, no, this is saying just file name. Actually, that's just defaulting. Okay, never mind. Okay, you would need all of this stuff, actually, like I was about to say before. You would actually need to grab this if you want to serve any file rather than just a hard-coded file. Is that true? My web security brain is sparking at not having a default file dir handler to avoid being able... So that's actually handled. You can't use the .. slashes. It's taken care of elsewhere. And I would consider myself confident that it is robust because I have tried for a few hours to break it because it tickled my web security brain as well at a time when I was getting particularly interested in the subject. And I tried for a while, and I think it's not susceptible to any kind of .. slashes. I would say, though, if you are interested, like, feel free to try it out for a while. If you find anything, definitely submit an issue. But I don't think it's susceptible. It's not the alias, it handles the spec. Okay. So how could I give it to, if I don't give it, what am I trying to say here? Is there a way to make it serve any file from this folder based on what the user asked for? So if I were to say home index HTML, short of like, if I were to do this, like string file name, this is probably the wrong syntax, whatever the right syntax is though, it would then get passed into here and then I could do like file name here or whatever. Is that what you would have to do? Or is there some shortcut, like if I just don't... I mean, I guess the shortcut is use it here, but what if you want to have that secondary folder? Okay, yeah. I think that would be I mean, I don't know that it matters that much, but I think it would be nice if you could match that default folder behavior of grabbing any file with your own route. Maybe there's no real use case for this though, right? Like, I'm kind of stretching, I guess. Basically taking this example and trying to take it a tad farther. URL parameters, okay. Or yeah, there you go. I guess you could do it without this thing. Yeah, okay. You could do it without this thing, and then in the browser, you could do something like... in this case, you might need to... If you set this up, it might be susceptible to the .. slashes. I don't remember if it sanitizes arguments here or not. Okay. Anyway, though. So our bug was... if you did not specify it it said, I think, in both places. Is that true? So if we just don't have it here, well, this is not going to work without a file. I think we need to bring that back. Get rid of all this other nonsense we've done. make sure this works before I think I have. Okay. Okay, so that one got a 404 because it doesn't exist in default, which makes sense. And then if you had done this, you will still also get a 404 now. Oh. No, you don't get the 404. You get this, but this is the new exception. Why did I just do that again? Okay, so basically the change here, though, is that now the exception has information that's useful about how to fix it. Yeah. So it would have just gone to do this stuff and then failed with, like, whatever, null pointer, file doesn't exist, something like that. So, wait a minute, though. What does the MDNS example do? Because I didn't use MDNS example, but my .local still works. That's probably only because I have web workflow on, I guess, though. This would make it so that you could do that without even having web workflow. That's probably it. And if you want to change the name to whatever you want, I guess, too. Okay. That's pretty cool. In the context of HTTP server, most path handlers treat home as a request. Yeah, it totally does. Bear. It does that by default, but the code, it also had a hard-coded file there, which is how you change the default. Okay, I think that's good. We do have the latest build of CircuitPython now, beta 2, and we are not crashing with that IO reuse, whatever that thing is. So that's definitely good, which is kind of the main, beta 2. That's kind of the main motivation for this PR in my mind, because that gets the library back to working with the cutting edge releases. The typing stuff is a nice to have, and the error handling being better, like I'm always pro better error handling, so I'm always going to be on board with that. 5,000, I think is definitely an improvement. Yeah. And then the zeros. Did the behavior of being able to pass zeros actually change? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like maybe you used to be able to pass zeros too, but just lots of the code did not pass zeros, and instead... Oh, this is probably like Pylint, I guess, probably. It really does. Pylint doesn't like these one letter. This might be dangerous. Is this dangerous? Isn't byte like a reserved thing? Or is that bytes only? Is byte reserved? Okay, just bytes. Yeah, I don't have a better suggestion, I think, but I'm a little weary of byte and bytes being, one of them being reserved and one of them being variable, and not both being used in this one line. But like, it does appease Pylint and pass those checks this way, where it probably didn't with the old way. And then these printouts are nice to have consistency, but they don't bother me too much being the other way either. All right. Spent decades routing around this class of errors, having Nginx in front of all apps. Yep, I'm with you there. One of these days, what we're gonna do is we are gonna set up Nginx on a Raspberry Pi, and then I'm gonna set up a swarm of ESP32 S3s and S2s, and I'm gonna set up the Nginx to act as the node balancer in front of all of them. And we are gonna run some kind of like tests and see how many requests I can handle over a period of time using that setup. And I also want to try to measure power. I'm curious what the power consumption will be like with, like, let's say 6 ESP32 S3s versus one, you know, like Raspberry Pi, or one like bigger, more traditional server. I don't know why I'm curious about this, but I'm kind of curious about this. So one of these days we're going to be testing that out on the stream. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I know we are going to. This looks good to me. That'd be cool for show and tell. Yeah, could pop into show and tell with it. Test the new version. Yep. It's my current HomeLab fund to distribute test the response and latency requirements of the various boards. Nice. Did you get USB host working yesterday? I like to be able to send G codes serial USB. So Mick, is it Mick Quinman 16? Yeah. So yesterday was Scott over on Deep Dive. Scott was working on that. So I am different. My name's Tim. I go by Foamy Guy. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any news for you there. And what I can tell you for certain is that I have not even anywhere near as close to the ability as Scott has to be able to get that resolved. I think the place where it's left, though, because I did comment on the issue, I think the place where it's left is for Hatch to look at. Hatch or Thatch? I don't know. I might be mispronouncing their name. The Tiny USB developer. So yeah, no progress on it, but it was also not me working on it, and it's way outside of my skill set. I was watching along to a bit of what Scott was working on, and I barely recognize what is even going on and what Scott's working on. I think we call this one we call that a bug fix, right? We don't have any major new features, really. We don't have any breaking API changes or anything like that. We have a fix for 9.0. We have a fix for the file response error. We have additional typings, which I usually do as a minor number as well. Results being sent to MQTT. Is there an Adafruit IO app? So there's like Bluefruit Connect app for connecting to Bluetooth devices on your phone. Is there an Adafruit IO app for like an Android phone or an iPhone to be able to like hook up to Adafruit IO and like get a push notification or something on MQTT or anything like that? Does anybody know? I will always call it it will always be the Android market in my heart, by the way. Also, weirdly, the Android market is still listed on the Google Play Store as an app, which is strange, but anyway, I digress. Where is the search bar? My goodness. Okay, so maybe there's third-party stuff that can do it, actually. Why is that so small? It's like barely even bigger than the main one. Okay, so it looks like not directly, but there are third-party MQTT apps that could presumably work. In this one, actually, a couple of them, they look like they have this ability to create kind of the dashboard situation as well, which is pretty sweet. I wonder if there's any guides or playgrounds or whatever for this. Maybe I'll try to hook this up one of these days and make a document for it. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. I was thinking about that the other day because I was working on an Android app for something totally different. But being able to send triggers through MQTT might be kind of interesting. Yep, coming Adafruit.io app being built. Oh, okay, being built as we speak. Very simple functionality for first version that we pimp it with on-phone sensors, etc. Saw Trevor on Show and Tell demo the proof of concept recently. Oh, okay, I'll have to check it out. I have not caught as many Show and Tells as of late. I go back and watch them. Occasionally they pop up like in my YouTube feed, and I'll watch them when they pop up. But I've been out and about on Wednesday evenings. My current home lab fun. Yep. Okay. Not for major version, but for anyone assuming their tests, I wonder if NTFY could be used for that. iOS, though, first. I gotcha. Maybe I'll work on the Android version at some point. Okay, so next thing to dive into is out of... Did I finish the release? I don't think I did. I got on the tangent, didn't I? Yeah, okay. All right. Also, I will BRB. Blow my nose again. Okay. Android can do proper PWA. PWA things, so maybe easier than entering App Store. I'm not sure what PWA is. All right, so we are leaving HTTP server land and going to camera land for our next chunk here. Let's try to figure this out. I don't know why this says unknown. It's not what we're going to do right now today, but poked around a little bit and it did not seem obvious to me what the problem with it was. NTFY has Android iOS web clients. Okay, we're going to swap devices. Got rid of the camera. Okay. So I have the camera set up to do border overlay, But what I want next is smaller, what I would think of or call sticker overlays. So right now, our overlay takes up the entire size of the image because it's a border that goes around the edge of the image. What I would like is for you to be able to have like a small picture. So if we had like one of these hearts or whatever, and it was just randomly somewhere else on the screen, not random, but you'll be able to control it. That's what we want. I'm going to start with the Adafruit emojis, which I have inside the art pack, I think. What's inside sprites? Interesting. Okay, yeah, we want emojis, I think. How big is this? Blinka seems like as good a place as any to start. 128 by 128. So we'll probably also be bumping up to a bigger image. This is a PNG. We need to get that into being a bitmap. Actually, you could maybe use the PNG loader inside image load. It might actually work. I don't know. I don't know. Sure. So I actually want RGB, but we want a bitmap instead of PNG. Probably going to be much larger. 888. We want to use a different color for background, the outside. 49K, it's not bad. Okay, but let's fix that. You can green screen it. Let's save that again. Actually, our problem now is going to become that these ones here are not fully green, because what we started with was Blinka, which is PNG and supports transparency. But where we are going, we don't need any roads. I mean, actually, we don't support transparency in the same way, so we can't have that. What we need to do is convert to indexed, which is going to cut our edges to be sharper, and then we can just convert back. And it will keep our sharp edges. Then we can turn back on the green. Then we can save it. $65K now. That can't be right. It should be the same size. I think it did the alpha. Yeah. Need 24-bit. There we go, 49.3K. Let me catch up over here. You can just use the Adafruit.io dashboard you designed for smaller screens on the mobile app. Not app level switch, but effective enough, or use webhooks API to interact with the feeds. You can add Santa hat. Yep, that's the kind of thing I'm going for. Heard about PNG. Yep. I think it should probably work because image load should work the same way as ultimately what we're doing, but I have not tried it. Are you watching using YouTube or Twitch? Responses are a couple of seconds ahead of my YouTube stream. Twitch, yeah, phone at YouTube used to be better. A noticeable few seconds. I noticed that actually yesterday when I was watching Deep Dive as well. I was watching on YouTube, and at one point I figured out that I was kind of behind by a minute or two without knowing it. Okay, let's take that, let's upload it to the device, which is, I can actually just go back to this, right? 124. Didn't take me inside the folder. It's on parse. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I'm gonna name it just Blinka emoji, and then I am gonna also put RGB 888. I've been doing for the others as well. Okay, Blinka emoji. And that's 124 by 124. So I'm going to take code select, which is the example I submitted very recently, which is actually probably the same code that's here, honestly. We're going to copy it just in case. And what this code will do is it will cycle through anything that's inside the overlays directory when you press the select button. I'll run this and we'll look at what happens. I assume it will either crash or produce a very broken looking thing on the display, because I'm pretty sure some of the code will currently be assuming the size of the image is going to be full size. Also, my camera crashed a while ago. All right, I have noticed the pencil frame takes longer for it to parse and then like show and stuff or whatever, so it's not super duper quick necessarily. Okay, honestly, that could have been worse. I was expecting worse. It's kind of big. So another thing I guess we'll want to be able to control is probably the size. All right, that finished. You can go back up one to SD. These get saved down here. So that was image 40. And then specifically the modified one, that will be the one with the, ooh, okay. Okay. Okay, it was not as messed up as I thought it would be, but it is still messed up. So what happened is now our preview differs from our real world. See, in the preview, Blinka is in the middle. But in the actual photo, the final photo, what I'll call it, is Blinka's in the top left. So let's work on that. For one thing, I think we should be able to set the overlay position, which right now we cannot. So we have pycam.overlay equals a file, and we have pycam.overlay transparency color equals a color in kind of a weird format. We want pycam.overlay position. I think it should be a list rather than a tuple, so that we can update the values that are inside of it rather than having to redefine the entire tuple every time. So let's set the initial one to 0, 0. Let's go inside of here. Let's look for the part where it is doing the preview. Which is right here. So it says if the overlay bitmap is not none, if the combined bitmap is none. So basically we got to create the combined bitmap if this is the first time we've been through here. We blit from, I forgot which way is which. I think destination is first. I don't have my stub set up correctly right now. So I think it's destination is first. So we blit from whichever bitmap we were passed into the combined bitmap. Then we rotozoom, which is like a special kind of blit that can do scale also, from the overlay bitmap into the combined bitmap. Rotozoom also has some other arguments which we are not using right now, apparently, that tell it where to go, which is why it's defaulting to the middle. Not sure the scale is exactly the same. Yeah, I don't think it is either, but that's because on the display it is scaled down. But it may not be even the same relative to the square, but that's because I think the scaling... Yeah, it's different, basically. I don't know the right way to describe it, but it's not being accounted. It would need to be scaled down by 75% in the preview in order for the preview to look relative to the full thing correct, or vice versa, you know, or it could scale down here. Like it needs to be scaled down in order to look correct inside of that preview as it stands currently. Although I will say, I don't know if that scale is hard-coded. Where did I find that? I guess I found it by taking this and then scaling it down. So actually this code does only work for one size. Yeah, I just realized that. This code actually it would only work right now for specifically 320 by 240 because I have hard-coded this, but what it really needs to be doing here is it needs to be taking the size that the camera is set to compared to this, which is the size of the preview. It needs to figure out the percentage of that and that is what this should get set to, not a hard-coded 75, which happens to be the answer for 320 by 240. Resolution. Is there like a... Can I get the real values? Yeah. Kind of. So, yeah. So resolution is a number, and that number is the index inside this list, which is a bit awkward because it has a bunch of commented out stuff, but that's all right. So that's our actual size. So if we wanted to get the scale, let's work on the scale before we work on the position, I guess. So if we wanted to get the scale to work, we need to find out that percentage ourselves rather than just using hard-coded 75. And when do we need to do that? We don't really need to do that every single frame when we're trying to render the preview. Instead, we should do that whenever the resolution is set, right? This is setting resolution to 1. Inside of there, we should also be setting like self.scale factor is equal to whatever we calculate. Or should we not store it as a variable and instead we could just look it up because we have the resolution? Yeah, let's do it that way. So we'll make it a property, a getter only. Preview scale. Yeah, let's just call it preview scale. So that is gonna, let's see. How are we gonna do this? We are gonna say, I'm gonna actually only consider width. And we're just gonna live with the fact that we're probably gonna be off by a few pixels on the height. Calculate the scale. So we're not actually loading any files right now just yet, but we will eventually do that as well. Forgot about black borders too. Yeah, 75 is not as bad as I thought. Okay, so we need to get, let's say the width is self.resolution, and that is going to be, those look like strings, I think, right? Yeah, so we need to split that on X. And then we need to also make that 0, and we need to be an integer like that. Okay, so that's given us the width of our current resolution. We know that the preview size is 240 by 176. Yeah. So that is return 240 over the width. So that would be 240 over 320, which is what? No, that's wrong, is it? It's wrong. No, that's right. Okay. So I guess we are actually just back to calculating this every frame though. So maybe it really probably would be better to actually just store it. I think anything we're doing in there, any kind of like, because we're like splitting the string, we're converting to the int, we're accessing, like all of this stuff we're then going to be doing every time we refresh the display, which is not necessarily the best. Instead, we could say when the resolution gets set. Oh, interesting. You can go by string. I didn't know that. I don't think the string one works. Does it? It can't work because it doesn't update anything on self. Like, when resolution is an int, which is the one that's actually in the example code, we say like local variable equals whatever. We say nvm update some stuff. So like we're saving something somewhere in memory that is retained. We say self.resolution. So we're setting a variable on self. We're also setting the text on a label that's already on our self. But when it's a string like this, it sets a local variable. And then I just added this line, so we can pretend this line is not here. Only thing it does is set a local variable. Oh, this is not else. Ooh, they stack. Okay. So that sets it to a number, which then stacks into this. Okay, so we don't need to do it in the first one, actually. Yeah, okay. And then finally... Okay. I'm going to do this. We're just going to get rid of that as a property, and we'll just set back up in the init preview scale. None. Yeah, it's like res label is none. I don't see resolution, but I assume somewhere resolution is none or 0 or something. Okay. So yeah, let's run it like this. But I think the final photo scale will still be wrong. Or will it? Maybe it won't be. Okay, so the thing is, the final photo scale was not wrong before. The final photo scale is what we're considering correct. The preview is what was wrong. Now the location will still be broken. I probably should just delete the pencil frame because it takes a lot longer to load. There we go. Okay, so Blinka. Does Blinka look smaller? I don't know. Isn't that the first instance? Isn't that for, yeah. Yep, thank you. For some reason in my head, I always kind of think of that pattern, the two ifs, one after the other, like my brain always makes me believe that second if is like implicitly an else, even though it's not. Yeah. When I just look at this code, for whatever reason, my brain is like, it's gonna either do this or this, but that's not the case. Okay. Now I'll say it's hard, still hard, I guess, to judge the scale because it's also in the wrong location. But I think the scale maybe looks better. Let's work on the position. So it centers it by default, which is nice, but let's get it to move it. So I tried, let's see, I set that overlay position to 0, 0, but we don't have any code that's actually using that. The code that would need to use that, though, is that roto zoom. But we need to know the arguments, which I started to pull up at some point, but looks like I never followed through on. Let's get that. Roto zoom. Okay, so this, what do we want? We need, no, that's like source location. We want the entire source. Although, theoretically, we could use like a sprite sheet. You could be using subsets of the source. Destination, OX and OY. Defaults to none, which causes it to use vertical midway point. Vertical midway point? Oh, because, yeah, that's only Y, right? And that's horizontal midway. Okay, so if you put them as both on none, then you get centered fully. But what we want is, let's say, OX. Is it really OX? Ox and oi. Oi. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll set those to none inside of init so that if they were not ever set, then it will be the same behavior as today. All right, like that. Okay, I will BRB. Gotta run to the restroom. Offset. Yeah, that's probably right. Also, I just realized we would need to apply that the preview scale actually needs to be applied to these as well. Because I think the way that I want it to work is overlay position. So I mean with 0, 0, it doesn't matter obviously, but we want, I think, overlay position to be within the aspect ratio of the final photo. So our final photo right now is 320 by 240. If you set the overlay position to, you know, let's say like 250 by 0, so it's like moved over a lot to the right. If we use literal 250, we are going to be off the right edge of the preview. It's not going to be visible on the display. What we need to do is 250 times our scale so that we account for the fact that the output photo size is different from the preview size, and our overlay position is with respect to the output photo. But it's multiply. And it wants to be an int. So it would be nice if it were to divide so that we could just do divide, divide. But we can't. So we'll just do int. Doesn't want to do that if it's none. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't seem like the linter figured that out, but it can't be none anymore, because if that were none, then this would be false, which means we would not try to multiply it. If we wanted to be more explicit, I guess we could say that still doesn't figure it out though. Oh my. Oh. But we expect that because I set it to 0, 0, which doesn't look very good on this frame, obviously. But is what, it's what we wanted to do. I'm going to delete the pencil frame so that we don't have to wait for that one, because it takes way longer to load than the other ones. Not sure why. It's got more transparency maybe, but I don't know. Sometimes this overlays really does not like to load. Network error. We are just gonna delete pencil frame. It is bigger. Why is it bigger? That doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't be bigger. It should be the exact same size as heart frame. It's probably set to that RGBA. Surprised that works. I didn't actually read that thing. Did that say that it can't delete it, or? Oh. Failed to delete it. Got a 500. But I want to delete it. My problem is that when I do this, it's no longer going to show my file, so I can't just delete it. I don't know. There's a mount SD, mounting SD. Is that actually happening? It doesn't actually say this though, so I don't think this code is handling it. I guess inside of init it must mount for you, so I suppose I can just do this. Some of my devices I have a little importable script that initializes the SD card. To delete and remove. Okay. Is it literal pixels or is it some other thing? Maybe it's like anchored to the middle? Where's my browser? Horizontal pixel location in the destination bitmap. Okay. 0, 0 should... I would have thought... Wait. Horizontal pixel location in the destination bitmap where the source bitmap point PXPY, which defaults to none, which causes it to use the horizontal midway point. So it is anchored, but it's like anchored position and anchor point effectively. And therefore we need to set PX to 0. Oh, this is wrong. Lincher is still confused, but... if we have a position that's not none, then we set PX to 0 because we want to anchor by top left. Else we put it to none. And we do the same thing for Y. That's not Y. I mean, it is Y, but it's not Y. What is red? Oh. Duh. Is red up here too? I don't know. Oh, it doesn't like ULab? Okay. That's fine. There we go. So I set it to 0, 0, which makes this frame go back to working. It could be on none, none, which would also make this frame work. But because it's on 0, 0 now, it means Blinka will be in the top left instead of the middle. It is on 0, 0, right? Delay position. Just start validating our assumptions here. So I think that should be 0, 0. Oh, we actually do need this. Because 0 is falsy. There. That's what we're looking for. Okay, let's try snapping the photo too. I'm surprised that wasn't faster. I figured the sticker should be faster than the frame since the bitmap it's using smaller. It's like less pixels for it to copy. What workflows I want to load right now? Oh, there it is. Starting to get maybe too many files, I wonder. I don't know if it necessarily likes rendering this page that's like just getting longer and longer inside of a table or whatever this HTML is, right? We're just compounding. This I've noticed, sometimes this is faster. Like the last couple of ones I downloaded were way faster, and they're all the same size. I don't know how to pin it down, but like sometimes this goes like 5 or 10 times faster, like noticeably. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, I think the scale is about right now. So Blinka's height is about half. I'm trying to point at this image on my screen, which obviously doesn't work because my finger is underneath my screen. Anyway, but like here, Blinka takes up about half, and then Blinka takes up like, I don't know, it's like maybe a little bit more than a third, I'm guessing. It's not quite half, but it's like a little more than a third, which looks, eyeballing it, about the same. All right, let's get these buttons right here to move the location now. So that's going to be like this kind of thing. Shutter, but I don't know what it will be called. Is it like D-pad or just up, down? Down. Okay, just down. Self.up and self.down. So let's say if pycam dot down. So counterintuitively, we actually want to go backwards. If the down button is pressed, we actually want to increase the Y of our position. So if pycam.down. Let's just say val. I don't know if these are up. I don't know if these default high or low. Okay, so we're currently doing, no, we're doing short count. I don't even know how that works. It says shutter released. Is that true? This one uses fell and rows, which is a little easier to understand. I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be high or low, so we'll just try it. If it's true, then pycam dot overlay position. So down means we want to say the overlay position 1, and we want a plus equals 1. And then we basically want 4 of these kinds of things. Up is gonna do -1. And then right and left are gonna do basically the same things. But 0. And I got these backwards now. All right, I don't know if that will work. Not sure why that happened. Yeah. Goes if dynamic language is true false. Okay, so our position is not just running away right now infinitely, which means we at least did not do it wrong in the worst way. I'm going to switch to Blinka. We could technically just use that one, but I don't know. It feels nicer to do this. I have no idea how fast it's going to go. Somehow it's still backwards. Are you serious? How is it backwards? So it's not the thing that I thought might have been backwards, but it is backwards nonetheless. Okay, I don't know why it's backwards. At the end of the day, I don't think I care though, right? We just swap it, right? Because the position is correct. Like 0 minus 62, we are at 0x, we're at minus 62, probably y. So that part's correct. The thing that's wrong is that the down button is moving it up, which doesn't make sense, but if we just swap those, it will work. Let's try the right button while we're here. Nope, those are backwards too. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. Maybe our value is wrong, actually. Maybe we are spamming this, but we're spamming all of them so they're adjusting for each other. We are spamming all of them all the time. Yeah. So we actually want not. So I was wrong. And the thing that I thought might be wrong was actually wrong. Which means I was also wrong when I thought these were backwards. But that means I was right the first time, which is nice, because it means this actually makes some sense. Okay, let's leave it like that so we can actually make sure it's not still looping. Okay. We could turn that off, I guess. I don't know. We'll leave it on for another few minutes. Let's see. Do this. Down actually moves down. Right actually moves right. Left moves left. Up moves up. So, let's turn off the prints. I think the prints might be slowing it down. If that's as fast as it goes without the prints, then I think we want, like ideally we would use maybe a logarithmic thing where the longer you hold it down, the faster it goes or something. Up to a certain point, but it will make precise movements harder, so we got to keep it to where you can move by 1 pixel as well. Okay, where's that other print coming from? It's going to be inside of... This highlights the power of CircuitPython being able to quickly iterate with debug invisible. Yeah, that's like the development workflow cycle of writing code to seeing results to modifying code on CircuitPython is really, really nice compared to like every other hardware I've worked on, which is not that big of a list, but that's still pretty slow. So what would be nice is if we could do something like if it's been down for more than 1 second or 2 seconds or whatever, then we start chunking by more than 1 pixel per step, maybe. I don't know if we can do that, though. I came. So this is debouncer, but it's like a weird debouncer. I don't think it's like straight up actual debouncer. So I don't think the docs apply as much as whatever this actually says, which is spamming a lot. Update value, state, fell rows, state, last duration, interval, current duration. Current duration? That sounds promising. Excuse me. What was it? Current, the full word? Yeah. So does that just keep going up the longer you hold it down? And if so, does it reset and everything how you would expect? How I would expect? Yeah. Nice. Okay. So let's say let's say we want to do what? We want to, so like a super basic one would be like, after we have held it down for 1 second, then we start moving by double. And after we've held it down for another second, we either double again or we go +1 more pixel, because we're going, so by default, we take 1 pixel steps. We'll say after 1 second, we're going to be taking 2 pixel steps. Let's try +1 per second that it's been held down. So 1 plus current duration, but that's a float. We actually want to turn that into an int. So chop off the decimal. Once we get to 1 second, that'll be +1, which will be 2. Once we get to 2 seconds, that'll be +2, which is 3. Current duration, %2 modulus, and then it increased by a percentage. Is that going to give you, I can't visualize the math on it. I assume that's going to give you like a smoother ramp up or something. Whereas mine will be a linear ramp up. We'll see if we want double. I have a feeling that the first doubling will be quite a lot. I don't know that we would want the second doubling, but we'll see. It depends on your size too, is the thing, I guess. Especially if you like, we're still on a really, really small final photo size. If you were to bump your final photo size up to like 1080p, which this thing supports, at least in the code it says it does, then you would want to move a lot faster, I suspect. Okay. I did something wrong. Hold on. We did down on all of them. Okay. It's still pretty slow. Honestly, even at this size, like, it's kind of like right on the edge of pretty much okay for this size, but if we were to scale up to a bigger size, I think it would definitely be feeling slow. It's already feeling a little bit. So what if we did multiply? Modulus 2? That gives us even or odd. I don't know if we need, what if we just do, what if we just multiply instead of add? So, well, but we'll also do, +1. So the first second will still be the same speed, but the second second actually will still be the same speed as well, but the third second will be double again instead of just +1. It may actually be nice eventually to not use full seconds and instead maybe half seconds. Because honestly, it still takes long enough. It still takes like, 3 seconds, 4 seconds to get ramped up to a speed that feels a little better. But the thing is, we definitely want to keep the 1 pixel degrees of freedom, because like you need to be able to place, your bling glasses just perfect, right, over the face of your subject. So like, we want the 1 pixel resolution, but so in that case, it would be we would be dividing by 0.5. That would give us half seconds. Same logic, just we advance on the half seconds instead of the full seconds. Linear is more friendly to human reaction time. Yeah, I could believe that. Probably a cap would be nice eventually. Current duration modulus 2. And increase by a percentage. I didn't reset. Okay, that's pretty nice. I think that's pretty good. You can get from side to side. It's not too bad. I would say it's still like kind of on the edge of being, slow. The up and down time is not bad. The side to side still feels like a beat, kind of about a beat too long, but I do worry we don't want to push it too far, because we also don't want to be like driving the F1 car around the camera here. It's not meant to be like a reaction test game either. That's pretty good. Yeah, that might be the winner right there. Now we're on doublings. We double every third of a second, every 3/10 of a second, actually, not every third. That's pretty good. I think that's going to be the winner for now. Modifier may need to be a percentage of the resolution's pixel count. We're already handling that part because of resolution's pixel count. I don't know if I understand what you mean, actually. But we're already if you mean the preview resolution, we're already handling that because internally we already are multiplying by the preview scale here. But I'm not sure if I understand what you mean correctly or not. Let's try a different size. I've been hard-coded to this size for a long time. Let's just bump it up by 1 and see what happens. So this code was based on the one where I edited it and I actually took out the bigger ones because I don't think there's enough RAM to it could work. Let's try that. So this will know right away if our preview scale worked because our frame should only be 1/4. Hey, oh, okay. Nice, it did work. Cool. Let's make sure that a photo works. Even though this is kind of a weird photo to take, and then I'll switch to Blinka as well. Actually, this photo will take a long time. Yeah, this one takes like 30 seconds at least or something. Not removing the overlay being a pixel at a time for larger screens. Maybe it's 10 or so. I want to keep the 1 pixel at the lowest speed because I want you to... My fear with making it always a multiple is that somebody will then not be able to line it up how they want. It may, on like 1920 by 1080 or something, I guess, to your point, the 1 pixel may not make a difference in the final photo, I guess, but if possible, I like to keep it to where you can get that 1 pixel degrees of freedom if you want it, but you can also ramp up so that you don't have to wait on 1 pixel the whole time. Yeah, we probably won't take too many more at this size. Actually, I forgot because we have to... So it actually probably still cannot. I was thinking the stickers maybe could work on bigger images, but that's not actually the case because the image, the way we're doing it right now, this image has to get loaded into RAM. The JPEG, so the camera saves a JPEG kind of like directly to the SD card. When we call capture JPEG, it gets the data from the camera just as bytes, I think. I'm not sure actually what it is. There's just few too many of those, so I'm not going to go into it, but I think it's just a bytes. And then it just dumps those bytes into the file. But then we turn around and use JPEG IO, JPEG decoder, inside of here, where we then open up that JPEG and load it into a bitmap, which is now in memory and takes up a lot more room. So like one thing we'll see when this loads, which might actually take a second, but we'll see, is the modified images are BMPs and the original images are JPEGs, and the JPEGs are a lot smaller, like 50K or something, whereas the modified ones are bitmaps and they're like 200, 300K, maybe even bigger on this one. 404. Okay, so the latest ones we took the JPEG straight from the camera is 15K, 14.7, but the modified bitmap is 921, almost a full megabyte. We're back to the faster speed this time, but our image is like almost 5 times larger, so. Okay. Nice. All right, let's do one with Blinka, just to make sure it works. Sorry, I don't know if that was loud. So this time around, Blinka looks a lot smaller on the screen because our final photo is much bigger. Let's just try putting Blinka like way over here somewhere. And then we wait on this again. If it has a PNG. So it comes out of the camera as a JPEG, as like bytes, which represent a JPEG and get stored on the SD card. And then we open it from there with JPEG IO and the JPEG decoder in order to get it as a bitmap, a display IO bitmap, which we can then blit the overlay on top of or into, depending on how you think about it. I don't think we can save it as a PNG. To the best of my knowledge, we don't have a PNG encoder. We have only, I think, a PNG decoder inside image load. So I think theoretically I could do it to where my overlay image was a PNG. And I think maybe that could work. We might need to change up the image load code a little bit, or the palette or something. But I think it could work. But I don't believe we have the opposite. I don't believe we have the ability to, effectively take a bitmap object in memory and then re-encode that back into a PNG and store it back out to the disk or whatever. All right, that finished up. That one actually seemed faster, so that's good, but I do think we still won't be able to go bigger because of the way that JPEG is getting loaded as a bitmap into RAM. This time this page loaded way faster also. Yeah, it would be nice too if we could resave it as a JPEG instead of a bitmap, but I don't believe we have that functionality either. Oh. Okay, I think we never actually used overlay in this function. Right, yeah, this is just doing blit 0, 0. It should be overlay position 0 if self.overlay position 0 is not none, else 0. All right, let's run it like that. Make sure that our location is better. Encoders would be nice though. That would be super cool if we did have the ability to, even if we had to still load it into RAM as a bitmap in order to blit our thing onto it, which I suspect would be the case, which means we still can't go too much bigger with this because we'll run out of RAM. Even with that being the case, though, the ability to save it as a JPEG or a PNG back out to the SD card would be nice because we'd be using up way less space, right? Like right now, these JPEGs are 15 and these ones are 900 for the bitmaps, so we'll fill up the SD card now. This SD card is 32 gigabytes, so, you know, it's gonna take a while to fill up anyway, but it might be nice if we could write them out. I don't even know how that works though. Like JPEG decoder. I don't know how hard it would be. I mean, it should just be the reverse of this, right? Makes it sound pretty easy, I guess, but. Interesting. Yeah, an encode that could go from a bitmap in RAM back to bytes to then write out to the SD card would be cool. This did finish. Yeah, should be easy. Make sure everything's like who owned formats back in the day. DRM, yeah, for the anti-win, yeah. Be there. Another thing that would be really, really, really cool would be if we could manipulate JPEGs without having to load the whole thing into RAM as a bitmap. Because right now, we're ending up with this entire 900K loaded into RAM. But if we could instead, like, maybe only have this 13K loaded into RAM, but just, like, whenever you access a pixel, it takes longer because it has to do the decode live or something, that would be cool because that would let us like trade time for RAM a little bit. We could potentially operate on larger files, right? Like we could bump up to the 1920 by 1080 or whatever, you know, something bigger than this one at least, because we wouldn't need that entire bitmap in RAM. I have no idea if that's like makes any sense or not, though. I don't know anything at all about the internals of a JPEG or a PNG, so like it could be that they don't work that way. Reasonable possibility. I'll take reasonable possibility. This did work, by the way. I don't think I said it, but obviously I clicked it there. I think you all saw it, or I think I showed it on the screen, I should say. But that's actually now placing at the right position, and it is looking like it's about the right scale. It's obviously smaller on the screen, but that's because our screen is now scaled way down, right? So proportional to its frame, I'd say that looks about right. The little bit of black space underneath Blinka, but that's just darkness because of what I'm pointing at. All right, I think we submit what we have here. That's probably gonna do it for me for now, for the day. So what all did we change? We need to paste back the library, and then we might as well put Blinka. We put Blinka? Yeah, we might as well put Blinka in the overlay folder in the repo. And then we might as well update the select code to be our one that we have here, although I'll swap back to the old size. Technically, I think this is the only file that changed. All right, so we have variables for preview scale and overlay position. Yeah, we don't really want that. That's the thing my formatter did. This is the same. We don't really want this. Honestly, I guess pre-commit would probably go and change all of this stuff back. This one we want, though. That's not what I meant to do. Okay. That, and then let's take code. Let's overlay select. One change that I will make, though, is we'll go back to size 1. Check out -b overlay position from Adafruit main, no track. Recording. That's annoying. I think that will have done it correctly. It's just that PyCharm does some helper stuff that the terminal doesn't. If you say so. That is awful looking to my eye, though. I cannot believe that pre-commit decided this is the way this should look. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Omega overlay position. New branch. I didn't add Linka. Lots of incremental progress and learning. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for hanging out. And it should like just automatically, I think, have picked up that extra push bitmap. Yeah. Alrighty. There we go. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day. Universal JPEG encoder for MCUs works with at least 4K of free RAM. We got 4K. We can definitely spare 4K. Tell you what, that sounds actually pretty sweet. Is that what I opened back here? It is. So this is written in C, or? We'll have to look into this. C++. Okay. Encode an image. So we would need to, ooh, I like this. It's already got support for a couple of these, which we want. So we would need to basically take this code and kind of like get it into the core CircuitPython. What is this? This is platform.io. Is this a Git repo or? Installation. Platform.ini. I'm not familiar with platform.io. This looks kind of like a GitLab type. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's like a central collaboration point, not just the repo. Okay. But maybe we could use this. That would be fun. I don't know. Like, I will probably end up floundering a little bit trying to do it because I don't have that much experience with the core. But if that sounds like something that would be interesting to watch, then maybe I'll pop the stream on for it. I do notice this says CPP, C++ instead of C. I don't actually know the differences enough to know whether that will matter or not. Not that much code in here, actually. A lot of code right there, though. This might be an example. I don't know. Magnitude? Weird. I have no idea what's going on here. All right. Take it easy, folks. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day and a good weekend and all that stuff. I will be back next week at the usual time, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. Until then, have a nice day. Have a good week. I will catch you later. Thanks for hanging out, as always.